Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
We'll see. It's going to be a tough division. Can they double their win total? Can they get from 4 to 8?
Yeah,
That's kind of what the target should be. If
exactly.
everything breaks right, ball bounces their way a couple times, some timely turnovers. Can they get to 10? It's possible. I wouldn't bet on it, but it's possible. So
I
if this team can
think,
finish
yeah,
somewhere in the 8 to 10 wins, it's a successful season.
yeah, and I think also too is like if they can, for some, I don't know what it is about the Patriot game, but it's such a swing game for them. Like if they can just win that, because they're not going to be favored in a lot of road games this year. If they can win that game, and I mean, listen, the Patriots are not. The Patriots are a solid team. They're not a great team. Whatever. They got something to prove, just like the Raiders do. But if they can win that game, then you have playing with house money, playing against the Chargers at home. You look at the Jaden Daniels is really good. He's outstanding. But like if you look at the roster of the Commanders, it's not as a daunting task to me going there as it could be. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes. Speaking of teams and the Commanders and stuff like that, Terry McLaurin. I don't. I mean, what's your mindset for them? Because I'm just trying to stick thinking in my head. Like I know some Raider fans will obviously go ahead and do the Photoshop and put him in a Raider uniform. I think I'm not sure if it was the Senior Bowl where he had the Raider sticker on his helmet. I'm not sure
That was Gruden.
that was Gruden did that.
That was Gruden.
Gruden did that.
Yeah.
But I mean, he is obviously to me. They're not paying the quarterback. I'm not sure what the real issue is as far as Terry McLaurin and the Commanders goes, because I mean it's going to be hard for them to replace 13 touchdowns last year. I mean he really meshed well with Jaden Daniels.
I think their issue is he wants to be paid at the top of the league and he's 30 years old going in. So you don't want to commit, 4 or 5 years and that kind of signing bonus to a guy who's already 30. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what the pushback is. He probably wants a longer term deal with more guaranteed money. They probably want more of a 3 or 4 year deal with less guaranteed money. Um, it's different than the Parsons situation over there because
Yeah.
he showed up. He's happy. Dan Quinn understands it. There's a lot of good vibes, even though he's kind of holding in. Whereas in Dallas, it's not. He's demanded a trade. Jerry Jones is the word salads as they're coming out of his mouth every day just make you shake your head. Like as a Raiders fan, it's like, all right, there is a more dysfunctional team. Like what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
Um, and then Des Bryant gets involved. But, I think at the end of the day, cooler heads prevail. I think Terry McLaurin doesn't get traded. I think he stays there. He's got a great connection. They need him. Debo Samuel's only on a 1 year deal who they brought over from San Francisco. So
Yeah.
they need him on that offense because they don't have a ton of other weapons
They do not.
outside of McLaurin. They got Zach Ertz running around. How old is he now?
Yeah.
Um, their running backs, I think it's still Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. Like they don't
I
have like a
I
superstar running back.
kind of surprised they didn't try to upgrade that position in this draft. But yeah, that's interesting point, no question about it. And Micah Parsons, I mean, obviously he would look great on the other side with Max Crosby. And then that would be something where if the Raiders had leads in the fourth quarter, and it's third down, that would be kind of fun to see Max and Micah go just put their ears back and go get the quarterback. Um, what would it take? Because I just feel like for the Raiders, they're in a situation where like it's kind of obvious where like they put their chips on the offensive side this offseason. Next season would obviously be like the defensive side. And then, you kind of take it from there. Would you, I mean, obviously it could take ones or multiple ones to give up for Parsons. Would you be inclined to do that?
Here's the thing with Parsons. I still think there's a 75 to 80% chance he stays in Dallas.
Yes.
It's a situation where he probably has to just dig his heels in and not show up week 1 or week 2. So I don't think it's a trade that's going to happen
Yeah.
in training camp. I think this is something that Jerry may just decide something a couple of weeks into the season if it's still not done, and then you acquire him. You'd have to sacrifice playing time, obviously, for Malcolm Kuntz. But if you're going to build this team to be explosive on offense, and you truly believe, as Pete Carroll, who's 73 going 74, do you have a chance to get a difference maker, a top 5 defender in the NFL? I think it starts at the Khalil Mack price. I think you're looking at 2 1s, maybe a 3, maybe something else. And then that's where John Spytek kind of has to step in and look at the long-term health of this organization. Is
Yeah,
this team ready to go out and compete and give up that kind of draft capital? I don't think they are,
me
but
either.
I wouldn't put it past them to do it. You're only a GM once or twice in this league. Pete Carroll doesn't have time to build this roster over 3, 4, 5 years. So if you have a chance to go get a difference maker and put him opposite Max Crosby, and you know for a fact that those guys are not going to get double teamed if they're both on the field. If they didn't, I wouldn't be mad. I don't. I think long term, it probably doesn't make sense unless this team is Super Bowl ready, which I don't think they are. But you have an aging quarterback. You have a very, very flexible salary cap where you don't have a lot of money committed going into next year and the year after. You have $40 million in cap space. If there's a team that's willing to do it and just be bold and go out there and just throw their chips on the table, I think a team that's led by a 74-year-old coach might do that. But again, it's up to Tom Brady and it's up to John Spytek to kind of sit down and look at the long-term health of what this would do. Assuming they get the money back from Christian Wilkins, which we probably won't know for like another year after this thing goes through a bunch of different arbitrations and hearings and through the league process. But if you can line up Max Crosby with a dominant edge on the other side. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is like, are you going to alienate Max by going out and getting Parsons and paying him more than Max? Because you're going to have to pay Parsons like $40 million a year. He's not taking the Max Crosby deal. So are you comfortable
Mm,
with that? I don't know if they're comfortable with that, because Max Crosby is the leader of this organization. Is he willing to take $5 million less a year
yeah,
than Micah Parsons? Um, you're getting to the point now where like a lot of stars don't hit free agency, and the only way to really go out and get these
it's
guys is
trade.
draft them or trade for
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
Um, Having said that, I still, like I said, I still don't think a trade happens. I think Jerry Jones just wants to be in the spotlight. I think Jerry Jones just wants people to talk about the Cowboys ad nauseum 24/7 on ESPN.
Mhm.
And then a week before camp, he may break down. But CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott never asked for a trade. They never came out and said, I don't want to be here anymore.
Mhm.
Jerry Jones didn't alienate their agents like he's done, obviously, according if we believe what Micah Parsons has said.
Yeah,
So I think there it is a little bit different here. And Micah Parsons has done everything right to this point. He's a little bit outspoken. He has a podcast. He does talk outside the organization. And I think Jerry, being the businessman he is at 82, probably feels, I thought I had a deal done with him. I didn't want to involve the agent. And then Micah said he wanted to go to his agent. And Jerry feels kind of just torn now that like he feels like he didn't get the upper hand in this negotiation, which he probably wanted. And it's going to cost him a lot of money because if I'm Micah Parsons, my number just went up. It's not 40 million anymore. I want $42 million.
yeah,
If you're going to do this and you're going to try to drag me through the mud and you're going to go on national TV and say what you're saying about me, you're going to have to pay me more.
yeah. I would if I'm the Raiders, and I am the super aggressive, go do it, f those picks. But I would stay pat. I would, and because I just feel like just just if this draft class comes through, get another draft class in. You might have to take a quarterback. I mean, because he is. I mean, who knows how Gino is going to play this year? So that's part of it too. You never know. There are some arms coming out in this year's draft. So like and he's going to be what 30. How old is he? How old is Gino? 35.
34. He'll be
30,
35.
35. So going in next year, he'd be 35, going to be 36. Like you have to kind of think about that position. It's not like Aiden O'Connell is like waiting in the wings to take over, right? I mean, we don't want to see
Yeah.
that. So
I'm the opposite. I'm the don't do it, don't trade him. And I'm like, you know what? You're going to get a 26-year-old perennial Pro Bowler who's on his way to play in the Hall. He's going to be a Hall of Famer if he
yeah,
doesn't get
no.
hurt. And he's a difference maker. Like,
Yeah.
would you trade
Oh,
the
he is.
15th pick in the next two drafts for Micah Parsons? I would, as long as you know that Max Crosby's on board with it.
Oh, like, and to your point, I think Max is just like Max in that
He wants to win.
situation, he wants to win so bad. I mean, like when you look at Max, how old is Max? Max is almost 30 now, right? I mean,
Let's look it up here.
yeah. These years have gone by pretty fast with Max. Like Max is up there now, so like it's getting. I think for him, he desperately wants to put put some wins on the table and be a factor in the playoffs for the Raiders. So I mean, if you're asking Max, I think Max would definitely get that thing done. Max would say, "Go ahead and do it. Get me much help as possible." How old is he?
He's about to he'll turn 28 in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean it goes quick, man. Like it goes really fast. So like I mean, I mean because could this and the flip side of it is like what if you lose Max Crosby for a month? Like what I'm saying, God forbid, knock on wood. Like at least you'd have Micah Parsons still. Like what I mean. So we could look at it that way as well too.
If
So
if
go
you
ahead.
truly believe the offense is going to score points, then you follow the Bill Polian Colts
Yes,
blueprint, and you get two
100%.
dominant edge rushers,
Yep.
and you just assume you're going to play with the lead, and then you give the ball to Ash and Genty and run out the clock. So like,
Yeah.
if you think you can run the ball and you're going to score
Yeah.
points, then and you don't have dominant corners, you better have dominant ends.
Yeah. I mean, of course, well, that's you gotta get the quarterback. You gotta get the quarterback. You gotta get the quarterback. No matter how you do it. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Anything else? Anything else around the league or anything about over the Raiders?
No, I think it's just, people get so caught up in one reception here or there in camp, and then they get so caught up in the guys that perform in preseason games. But just go back and look at who's made the roster over the last 4 or 5 years. It's usually the guys that don't play in the preseason games or get taken out very early. So I wouldn't get caught up on who the 52nd or 53rd guy on the roster is going to be, because at the end of the day, those guys aren't really going to make a difference. For me, it's more, can they stay healthy? This team can't afford
They
to
can't.
have guys get
It's
hurt
yeah.
in preseason.
Yeah.
I've always told my wife the preseason is about, if you win, it's cool. If you lose, it doesn't matter, as long as no one got hurt. Like, I don't care if this team goes out and loses 4 games in the preseason, as long as everyone stays healthy.
One question we keep getting real quick because we've been away for a while is do you have I know it's early I know it's early, but is there a surprise team in the league this year that nobody's talking about you think is going to have a good year?
I still think the Jaguars have a chance. I
Yeah,
think Liam Cohen's a very good offensive coordinator, and
that division,
I
yeah,
think he can turn around Trevor Lawrence. I think they have a chance to be a playoff team um, this year. And we'll see. It's tough when you start looking around the league, but I think some teams are going to come back to earth. And I look at the NFC Central. I don't fully believe the Vikings are going to go 14 or 15-2 or whatever they
that's
did
true.
last year. I don't think the Lions are going to go 14 or 15. Or I think what they go 15-2. I think those teams take a step back.
Yeah,
I think Green Bay might take a step forward in that division. Who knows what you have in Chicago with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams?
yeah, no
I don't
question
know if you
about
can trust what you see on Twitter or X, but the Caleb Williams stuff coming out doesn't look pretty for what's going on. It can't, but um, it's tough. I still think the Bengals. I still think the Bengals, if they can get Trey Hendrickson in the field, that offense or in the fold, that offense is going to score points.
it. Hmm.
What's Pittsburgh going to be with Aaron Rodgers? I don't know if I trust it. But
Yeah,
they did add Jalen Ramsey and DK Metcalf, but they lost their left tackle. Like, what's the offensive line going to look like there? They lost Harris. Are they going to be able to run the football?
yeah.
And you still have the AFC still goes through Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore, no matter all
No
these
matter
other teams we
what,
want to
no
talk
matter what,
about.
no matter what.
They have the three dudes at quarterback that everyone doesn't, and that doesn't even count Joe Burrow. So um, the Raiders have an uphill battle, but it's fun. It seems like this offense is going to score points, and we'll see what happens with Chip Kelly. They should come out of the gates. There's not a lot of film on what he wants to run. The Raiders teams aren't going to be able to prepare for them early in the season, so they have to take advantage of that. And
Yeah,
then we'll see as the calendar swings into November, December, and teams have 8 or 9 games of film on this Chip Kelly offense. Can they adjust? But
yeah.
um, and then if we want to talk about depth, the Raiders, another player who you need to circle is Colton Miller. This team cannot afford to
No,
have Colton Miller get hurt because they have no
no.
depth at tackle.
Yeah,
And if you
yeah,
saw the strip six by Max Crosby and you looked at who was playing right tackle, that was Thayer Munford, and he just ran
yeah,
right around him.
yeah,
So I think we can give up hope on Thayer Munford ever becoming that left tackle that a lot of
yeah,
people want him to be. And then behind him, you have Charles Grant. You have a rookie who's
yeah.
unproven. So
Yeah.
This team can't afford to lose Geno Smith. They can't afford to lose Genty. They can't afford to lose Bowers or Crosby or Miller. Like there's a lot of guys on this team
Yeah.
that can't get hurt.
Yeah. For me, some of the teams that are going to take a step back, I think the Commanders are taking a step back. I think they just had so many one. They remind me of a baseball team that makes a run, and they just win a bunch of one-run games and walk-offs. They had so many of those last year. I think they come back to the pack a little bit. I'm kind of tempted to look at the Cardinals just a little bit, just because they won 8 games last year. Can they win two? Can they win 2 more to get to 10 this year? The Raiders could possibly double their total. I think teams on the downside. Teams like the Dolphins. Everybody thinks he's gonna be the first coach to get fired. I mean, you heard that from everybody that he might be out of here, and then talked about the Steelers. It isn't Steelers and Bengals, things, teams like that. The Bengals, I mean, obviously it's the Chiefs, like you said, the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills, but the team that has the puncher's chance is always going to be the Bengals. The Bengals can make the playoffs because nobody wants to see that player in the playoff. Dude, him with a healthy offense, two healthy receivers can win any game. He's that kind of dynamic passer of the football, if you will. So we'll have to see.
We didn't even talk about Houston. What does CJ Stroud look like in year 3?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's very true. They actually, I mean, they were points for and points against. They were 372 points for, 372 points against last year. So you can't get more.
What's that offensive line going to look like, though? That's the question.
I mean, they lose Tunsil to the Commanders. I mean, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, it's brutal. It could be brutal there. I do think the team that has probably one of the best teams, but they struggle at quarterback, would be the Colts. I think the Colts have like probably the best team overall in the division. But I don't know. I don't know if they have a quarterback who can do anything for him. So we'll see. All right, Raider Nation, take care. Ryan, safe travels. Take care, brother. We'll see you next time.
All right. Good to be back.
Yeah, take care, brother.
Later.